So one thing that we mentioned earlier, this idea of the WNBA moving first, being the first mover in basketball, and then the NBA following. It also, I think, serves not only on the social justice aspect, but also just as far as how they operate the season. I think it's like an incubator for the NBA as far as ideas are concerned. One idea was the Commissioner's Cup. This is in the second year that it's been going on. You've seen a little bit of tinkering with it, but it's an interesting idea of an in-season tournament. The NBA could have a single elimination in-season tournament. What's your take on this? This idea of maybe 8 teams playing in this in-season tournament?
Yeah, I think the idea is sort of like the Commissioner's Cup. There would be games in the first part of the season to determine who those 8 teams are, and then have those 8 teams go into a single elimination. There's some logistical questions about how that's going to work. If I don't know, we were talking about the Celtics and Bucks. If the Celtics and Bucks make those 8 and they play in the second round of this, the Final Four or whatever, does that count towards a regular season game? And then, there's some logistical questions I don't understand. The Commissioner's Cup's kind of worked in the WNBA. My question remains, Corey, and this we'll find out when they do it, because they will do it. Are fans going to care?
No, probably not.
Yeah. See, they're doing it the first part of the season. The games that the cup games will be in, which are regular season games that count double, will be in October and November, and then they'll go into this single elimination tournament thing. Again, that's right in the middle of football season. I know that they're trying to look for the league. It provides a second cup. It provides more interest in theory in the early part of the season. But you've talked about this before. What is it that attracts? What makes part of what makes football so attractive? Why the playoffs are attractive? What are we drawn to as fans? Games with meaning, games with weight, games with, I think you used the word jeopardy, which I think is a great word for what we want. We want something on the line. I don't know if the early season, this mid-season tournament idea is going to have that kind of weight.
Yeah, I'm all for new ideas, though. I think that's cool. The fact that one of the biggest sporting leagues in the world is willing to be entrepreneurial, I think, is a very exciting move. And it's reflective of that spirit of innovation. Now, I agree with you. I don't think it will matter. I think it's one of those. It's kind of like when they redid like the rookie game. Remember that in the All-Star games? No one really cared at the first place. so redoing the rookie game to make it more competitive or more. It's novel, but I still didn't watch it. It's still not interesting. And I love basketball, and it's still not interesting enough for me. Same with the All-Star game, where the quality of the game has just gone so bad, so far down, because it comes down to a will question, not a structure question.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, people wanted to play in that game because there was pride on the line of this is almost like, in my mind, the way it worked. And, there was this element of okay, well, you go out there and you're going to play hard. Now, the only person who plays hard, recent years, was someone like a Kawhi Leonard or something, but then he hasn't really been playing because of his injuries. This All-Star game has just kind of become like a almost like entertainment. Yeah, and I understand maybe that people are into that, but it's not basketball. It's not competition. So I think with this tournament, I think it would have been much more interesting if they would have followed the soccer model. Because to me, this is a soccer model idea, right? We're watching right now in the Premier League and all over Europe, people resting players in advance for the World Cup, especially PSG, when they have Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe coming off the bench at different times now to get them ready for the World Cup. That to me is interesting. Now, if there was an idea of you want to grow the game globally, and you want to have the Basketball Africa League, or maybe a league from China, you want to have maybe a European league or Eurobasket, you want to have these kind of in-season tournament breaks where Giannis can go play for Greece, for a couple of weeks, or Luka can go play. I think that is an interesting concept. But for an in-season tournament for the NBA, locked in within the NBA, insulated in the NBA, I think you're going to have the same effect as what we see during All-Star Weekend, which is a novel innovation, but no substance.
Those in-season tournaments, whether you talk about soccer, the FA Cup, the Carling Cup in England, whatever, all these other ones, it's baked into the DNA of the sport, right? And they also, look, in the Premier League, there isn't a playoff structure at the end of the season. You win the Premier League by having the most points at the end of the 38 game regular season. There isn't a playoff structure the way we do it here. So I don't know. So those cups have more weight in some ways because it's just baked into the system. Again, I don't know that we'll see. I will be watching. I'm not sure American consumers are going to be moved.
Yeah, I agree.